A drug death is putting a spotlight on the limits of a Texas law designed to prevent overdose deaths. Austin police say a man knew that two people were overdosing but did not call 911 for help. Rolando Ortiz Jr. is charged with felony tampering with evidence. Police say he worked at an East Austin business where two men appeared to have taken cocaine mixed with fentanyl. Court documents allege that Ortiz locked the men inside an office and tried to hide drugs instead of calling for help. One of the men died. Ortiz reportedly told police that one reason he didn't call for help was because he had a previous criminal history. Texas does have a Good Samaritan law, which protects some people from getting in trouble should they call for help in a situation like this. That's where we bring in digital reporter Grace Reeder. Grace, this law is new and it doesn't protect everyone.
Yeah, that's right. So this was passed last year. It went into effect in September. House Bill 1694 protects some people from small drugs charges if they call for medical help for someone during an overdose situation. But many addiction recovery advocates here in Texas take issue with who is protected and who is not specifically. Lawmakers wrote this bill so that it wouldn't get vetoed by Governor Greg Abbott again. Abbott vetoed one in 2015 because he says he was worried it would be taken advantage of by repeat offenders. That's why this bill was written to exclude protection for people who have previous drug charges and protection for people who have called 911 for an overdose in the previous 18 months.
The people who are most likely to be present for an overdose are also people who are very likely going to have some sort of record. And that means that you're eliminating a big chunk of the individuals who are going to be the primary users of this.
That's why advocacy groups like Recovery Unplugged are trying to patch those loopholes in the next legislative session. And by the way, Ortiz, that man that we told you about at the top of the show who is facing charges for not calling 911, was on parole for non-drug related charges but does not appear to have previous drug charges.
Grace, why are some people excluded from that protection? What were the governor's concerns with that?
Well, it wasn't just the governor. Some law enforcement agencies like the Hardin County Sheriff also told us that they wanted to make a clear distinction between a person who's an addict and a person who's a dealer and a trafficker. These rules were written in a way that the governor felt law enforcement could still arrest that latter category of people.
That's very interesting insight. Thank you very much, Grace. We've got a look at legislation aimed at preventing overdose deaths and places where Texas falls short compared to other states. We have links in this story in the Texas Politics section of our website. The state is scrambling to find more of a life-saving medication used to reverse an opioid overdose. Organizations tell us they can't get Narcan anymore through a federally funded state program. Narcan is a nasal spray version of naloxone. The More Narcan Please program provides the medication along with training on how to use it. But on its website, it says we are experiencing delays due to high demand and funding and are not accepting any new naloxone requests. Callie Crow is a paramedic and travels across the state to train first responders on how to use Narcan. She started doing it after she says her son, Drew, died from a fentanyl overdose in June of 2020.
I would say at least 10 times after I have done the training at these departments, within a week, they are using the nasal Narcan. And so it's fresh on their mind. If I do the training now and they don't receive the Narcan for another year, it's sort of pointless.
The Texas Health and Human Services Commission, which oversees the distribution program, says high demand and low supply has led to using all available funding. The state agency says it's working with organizations to redistribute their unused naloxone and so far have been able to get about 1,600 doses. A Texas lawmaker wants to take a fresh look at Texas home building regulations.
It's something that was attempted to be fixed or addressed more than a decade ago.
The response after our investigation uncovered families across the state dealing with expensive foundation repairs and years-long legal battles with builders. The Texas Department of Motor Vehicles says it's now a lot harder for crooks to sell temporary tags.
The mass producing of fraudulent tags has come to almost a screeching halt.
What's next on their agenda that could eliminate 90% of fraud?